Hello and welcome to Missed Checkpoints, the video game book club podcast. Today we're starting our discussion on Psychonauts. I'm your host Marcus, and joining me today as always are the homies. First off we have Dante.
Hey, how's it going?
Next we have Trevor.
Don't mind me, I'm just a figment.
And last but not least we got the homie Greg.
What's up?
Like I said, we're playing Psychonauts this month for the month of February. It is my game, so I'm going to kick us off. Psychonauts is a platform game developed by Double Fine Productions that was first released in 2005 as their debut title. Double Fine is the brainchild of Tim Schafer, an ex-LucasArts developer, and a few additional former LucasArts colleagues of his, and was founded in July 2000. The years prior, LucasArts had started shifting development away from adventure games towards more action-oriented games as part of the ongoing trend in the video game industry. Schafer, having just finished producing Grim Fandango, and he saw other people having issues in leaving LucasArts and was unsure about his own position. So colleagues had approached him in January 2000 to suggest launching their own studio, which led to them co-founding Double Fine a few months later. Psychonauts itself is based on an abandoned concept that Schafer had during development of Full Throttle, which he eventually expanded out. In the game, you play Raz or Rasputin, a young boy gifted with psychic abilities who runs away from the circus to try and sneak into a summer camp for those with similar powers to become a psychonaut, which is basically this world's version of a spy with psychic abilities. He finds that there is a sinister plot occurring in the camp that only he can stop, and the game centers around exploring the strange and imaginative minds of the various characters Raz comes across to help them overcome fears or memories of their past, to gain their help, and to progress in the game. The game itself was initially backed as a premier original Xbox title, but due to internal and external issues, Microsoft eventually dropped publishing rights in 2004, which made the game's future unclear. Double Fine was able to secure Majesco Entertainment as a publisher a few months later, allowing them to complete the game after 4.5 years of development. Originally released for Windows, Xbox, and PS2, the game was well received but only sold about 100,000 retail units, leading to a severe financial loss for Majesco. Despite being considered a commercial failure, Psychonauts has earned a number of industry awards and gained a cult following. Double Fine eventually reacquired the rights to the game in 2011, which allowed them to update for modern platforms and offer the game through digital distribution. This also allowed the company to track their own sales and this modernized release far exceeded the sales of the original release. So altogether, there's about 1.7 million units sold as of December 2015. A sequel was also released that year at the 2015 Game Awards, and the first full trailer was revealed at the 2018 Game Awards, which was December 6th of last year. And there's currently a 2019 release date for the sequel, but the status of the series may once again be in the air because later in the month of December, the publisher Starbreeze revealed that they were going through financial woes. So right now, as far as I could see, that Starbreeze was the most recent publisher that hadn't made any announcements of a different publisher, and the game is currently in alpha right now. So we shall see if Psychonauts 2 actually does come out this year. But let me kick it to you guys. What is your guys' background with Psychonauts, if you've ever played it, and what other Double Fine games have you guys played? And I'll kick it to you first, Greg.
For Double Fine games, let me think. So I played a little bit of Brutal Legend. I did play Psychonauts a little bit when it first came out, but just kind of, as I've always been known, just stuff kind of falls to the wayside with me. I did end up picking it up on PC back in like 2014, and same deal, played it for a couple hours and just kind of fell off it. But I mean, I thought it was kind of a cool game. It was just, I don't know, man, it just never struck, like, you know, it never really clicked with me. But Yeah, I'm liking it so far from the little bit we played.
Okay. What about you, Trevor? What's your background with Psychonauts and or Double Fine?
Never played Psychonauts. I heard of it, but never really piqued my interest. I'm looking at the Double Fine games right now, and I never realized how little of their portfolio I've played.
Hey, don't worry, my dude. We're gonna play some Double Fine games.
But I think I watched you play Brutal Legend, like back when we were at UAH.
Mm-hmm.
I played The Cave, surprisingly. Another obscure kind of game. I think that's it. Like, I've heard of Broken Age and a couple of other games in their list, but yeah, this is like the second game I've played from them.
Dang. Okay. What about you, Dante?
So I just looked through a list of Double Fine games, and the only one I've played is Hack and Slash, and I did that last year, and I didn't like it, so I dropped it.
Dang, man, these freaking Double Fine haters up in here, man.
I found one game that I did play, Iron Brigade.
There we go.
Microsoft gave it away for free at one point.
I forgot I played that.
My guys. Okay, well, Double Fine is that's my developer, man. So like, I had never played Psychonauts before, but I played Brutal Legend. I love Brutal Legend, and then that kind of started like, I'm gonna play whatever they come out with next. I like that game so much, and for maybe about a year and a half, 2 years, like anything they put out, I played. And luckily that was like their peak pushing out stuff. So I Brutal Legend, I played Costume Quest, I played Stacking, and Iron Brigade, and I loved all three. All three of them are vastly different. I mean, all five of these games are vastly different, and I loved all five of these games. And then they started putting out some stuff. They put out a Sesame Street game and a Happy Action Theater, which was, I think both of those games were Connect oriented, and I didn't have a Connect. And they also put out Connect Party, and I just I was getting out of school at that point, so I had to conserve money. So I kind of stopped playing things that Double Fine came out with. And I actually...
There's no filter for quality. It's like, oh man, I miss all the Connect mini games they put out.
To be fair, I believe Happy Action Theater is a solid game, and obviously Sesame Street is not catered towards me as an audience, but I heard that game is decent. But I fell off playing Double Fine for a while, and I was super intrigued when they reacquired some of the old LucasArts, because like these are former LucasArts employees, and when LucasArts went under, some of these they were able to reacquire some of those old games that they worked on and republish them. So they came out with Grim Fandango. They came out with Day of the Tentacle. Thank you. And I believe Full Throttle, which are three old point and click or action adventure games. So I got all those, and I also played Massive Chalice briefly, and I was super intrigued with Headlander, and thankfully recently Steam had the Chinese New Year Steam sale, so I just bought the entire Double Fine bundle. So best believe we're gonna play some Double Fine games, my dudes. So get ready.
But you never played The Cave?
No, that was a game that has come up a couple times in our suggestions. That and Cave Story, and I've been meaning to play it, and now I have it, but I just haven't played it. So we will probably be playing some of those games. So don't worry.
So what you're saying is, if Starbreeze does end up publishing Psychonauts 2, it'd be like a match made in heaven?
I mean, I don't know about match made in heaven.
Since we love Starbreeze so much.
Hey man, Starbreeze can put together some good multiplayer. So yeah, I guess I'm the person that has mad love for Double Fine. They're definitely one of my favorite developers, and so I was super looking forward to playing this game. I also just this genre, platformers, is just a genre that I grew up playing as a kid, and uh, I was super looking forward to that. And having heard a lot of podcasts recently, they make mention of this game as like one of their favorite games or whatever, and it's like it's always been a game that's intrigued me, and I'm glad that we were able to finally pick it up and play it. So what are your guys' initial impressions? I kind of laid out the basic concept, which is, you're getting psychic abilities. The character is at a summer camp, so it's kind of more kid oriented. Everybody around you for the most part is your peer, with the exception being some of the camp. I don't even want to say counselors, but like some of the people that work the camp are adults and they're psychonauts, or they're professionals. They're training you to someday join their ranks. So let me start with you, Dante. What are you played this game to its completion, right? A couple months ago.
Correct. I played it over the holiday break.
And did you play it because of the podcast, or were there any draw for you to even pick it up on your own, or was it purely because of the podcast?
Purely because of the podcast.
Okay. What did you think about the beginning stuff, the setup, I guess you could say, for this game? If you remember.
I can't even say I remember, to be honest, man.
Oh, no worries, no worries. What about you, Trevor? Do you got anything?
So, back when I was just a little kid,
A wee lad.
I grew up playing a lot of educational games, like Math Blaster and like a bunch of
Math Blaster is legit.
Yeah. And when I first started playing this game, I literally thought I was going to be learning something. I mean, it kind of feels like one of those late 90s type of educational games.
Edutainment?
Yeah. But I was thoroughly surprised.
In a good way, right? Like, were you saying, were you rolling your eyes when you thought, I'm going to play an educational game, or were you just kind of
like, man, what does this game have to offer? Like, I'm ready for this. But
what about it said this is an edutainment game?
Okay, so like when you first start up the game, the very first menu, I mean, it's a giant brain, and you're basically standing on top of it, and you can walk around it, and of course it says Psychonauts on it's the title menu, and I'm thinking it's gonna pop up and say, I don't know, Brain Blaster or some type of
mini game.
Yeah. And I mean, just the style of it, because I mean, I know the graphics are, this game came out in, what, 2005, you said?
Yeah, 2005, and they've been working on it since 2000, so it was 4.5 years before it actually came out.
Older than that. And that's what kind of, made me think of like a 90s type platformer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about you, Greg? What were your initial impressions?
So, I guess it's kind of hard for me to put it in perspective a little bit because, like I said, I've started the game twice, so I kind of know how the intro goes and the kind of tutorial areas. But I think the game. I guess the better way for me to kind of go about it is I guess kind of how I feel about it now. I mean, I think the art style, even though obviously the graphics don't really hold up that well, but I think the art style is kind of cool. All the characters look really unique. And it's kind of, I don't know, I get kind of like a Tim Burton-esque type of thing about the design of the characters, or is that just me?
Same.
Okay. So, I mean, I like the art style. I guess the only gripes I have about the game is kind of mechanics. But I guess we'll save that for a little bit later. But, my first impressions are, I'm kind of digging it early on.
Okay. For me, I really like the opening the concept of the game. You're these kids at summer camp, so like that's something that I never experienced, but they put a little twist on it with the whole psychic ability element where you're like training to be this, I don't want to say like superhero, but it's almost like a superhero camp, I guess. It's kind of how I see it. Where it's like everybody has this technique, or like, I guess the X-Men Academy, where everybody has this ability that they can do, and you're training how to learn additional abilities to become this psychonaut. And everybody is pretty pumped because, everybody's young and they're full of energy and they're like, yeah, like I want to do this thing. But then there's also like kids that are like, you could tell they kind of grew up sheltered or they're scared. There's bullies. There's the kids that get picked on, the nerdy kids. And like there's the whole like kind of middle school, high school element also thrown into it, which I think is really cool and interesting. And then even like the adult characters, the coach Oleander and the other Psychonauts each have their own like kind of, it's almost like a stereotype, when you watch a high school movie where you have like the laid back PE coach, and then you have the really cool teacher that everybody likes, and you have the lady teacher that's kind of like, very flirty or whatever. And so I kind of get that vibe from some of the characters in this game. And then for me, the graphics, like, I think this game definitely looks older, but I don't think it looks bad because it's not meant to mimic like reality. It has its own unique aesthetic to it, and like you guys kind of said, Tim Burton-esque, where character proportions are really weird, where you'll have characters with really like, the main character has like, he's almost like Arnold from Hey Arnold, where he has like a really like wide head, and then there's another character that has a really wide head, but then there's another kid that basically he doesn't have a neck. It's just like a big fat body. He looks like a freaking piece of candy corn or something like that. And then there's another kid with a super tiny neck and a small head and this huge afro. And like, so the characters, they kind of play around with like their proportions. And so because it's not supposed to look realistic or anything, even though the game looks old, I don't think it like looks bad to me. And then even the cutscenes too, like it does that thing, I don't even know what you call it, where you can tell you're in a cutscene where you're not supposed to do anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it kind of transitions to it, like, because they're videos and they look kind of compressed, so you can kind of see the artifact thing. So it's like,
yeah, and it's grainy too a little bit.
Yeah,
but like, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know if this is foresight or like maybe something they did later, but it kind of. I'm trying to think of like PB Winterbottom and like that game where they show like tutorial things and they kind of make it look like a old video that you're watching, and I kind of like get that feeling when I watch the video cutscenes in this game where I'm watching this thing happen. So it's supposed to take me out of the action, and so I don't see it as a negative or anything like that. And I do like the graininess of it, even though I know it's like a byproduct of the time that the game was made. It doesn't like detract for me. And I mean, once you watch that opening cutscene and you create your quote-unquote profile with your save file or everything like that, then you're kind of just left and you're in the game then. And I feel like this is like the actual game is kind of where you see some of the aging, like some of the things that the industry has evolved beyond.
For sure.
Specifically the menus. Like, you're like, just imagine we're not playing an open world game, we're playing an action adventure or, adventure game, platformer. So you can kind of imagine like a Banjo-Kazooie or like a Super Mario 64 or something like that. So you're running around and there's no map on your HUD. The only information that's displayed on your HUD is the powers that you have that you're currently using. Oh, by the way, before I get too far into it, what is everybody playing on? So I'm playing with the PS4 controller, but I'm playing on Steam.
Yeah, I'm playing on PC and using controller.
PC with a controller.
I played on PS4.
PS4? Okay. So there's no HUD beyond I think it shows your health, how much money you have, and whatever abilities you're using. So to see certain things, because there's a lot of like collecting things in this game. You get like a quest that's like a scavenger hunt quest. You have like your mission objectives. To see all that stuff, you have to pause the game and go into the menus. And there's like 6 menus that you toggle across. And so a lot of times it's pausing the game, getting out of the action, scrolling over to whatever screen you need, and then viewing all the information and taking it in that way, whether it's looking at the map, saving the game, seeing how much of whatever you have, whatever item, whatever the next mission is, anything like that. Even switching your abilities or your item that you're holding, you have to like hit left or right on the D-pad, and that pulls up a different menu that also pauses the game. And like, there's just a lot of menus in this game, and I feel like that is something that maybe we we take for granted nowadays. It's something that the industry has evolved beyond. So navigating the menus it hurts me every time.
It's not too much different from like Assassin's Creed, because I think Assassin's Creed has the same level of menus where once you hit start, you have to scroll from the map to your items to quest, and so it's...
Well, see, the thing about that, though, is Assassin's Creed actually has enough stuff to justify having all of those layers of menu, where this is just like, I need to hit L2 to get to this piece of bacon to summon this dude. I hope I didn't get too far ahead with the bacon thing.
No, not really. But yeah, like, I 100% agree with Dante, where it's like, I mean, even in Assassin's Creed, don't they have like a mini-map at the very least in the HUD?
Yeah.
Yep.
And like, that is something that you don't have in this game. I don't necessarily know if a mini-map would help, but like being able to see like what your current mission is, and it's really weird because like you can see what they have this ranking system where you rank your PSI up, your psychic, basically level or whatever, and you collect something, or there's a couple of different things that you can collect that go towards that unit. So let's say, for example, it's coins or something. So once you get 100 coins or whatever, then you go up the next rank and you start over. And so like I think in the beginning it's every 10 levels you get a new ability, and then later on it becomes every 5 or something like that. And like once you hit that level, you just have this permanent like logo or symbol of the guy that you go to level up on your screen. It just doesn't go away. And it's like, who decided this? It's off to the side, but it's still big enough where it's like, okay, I get it. Like, I need to go to this dude, but it just stays there until you go to him. And I don't know. Something about the menus is just really off-putting for me. It's like one of my least favorite things about this game is having to toggle through the menus to see what I've collected, or seeing what the current quest is, or see where I need to go on the map, or like I don't mind having to go into the menu to even save the game, but like something like I had to change like the subtitles, and I had to change the game from being inverted, the camera, and I had to go through. It was like pause, options, control, and it was like 4 different sub menus to get to the section to turn on the subtitles, 4 different sections to get to the sub menu to turn off the inverted or whatever, and it just seems very clunky nowadays. And I couldn't even, I don't know, it's just very frustrating for me.
It's definitely a product of its time, I think, as far as that. I mean, well, a lot of things in the game are, but for sure, yeah.
Because I'm trying to think, like, there's really not that much different. Like, this game isn't that much older to me, in my head, to like some of the, or that much removed from the, like Banjo-Tooie or something like that. But like Banjo-Tooie, the way they had you do, I mean, the way you did the moves was unique, so you never had to equip things. But I just don't remember having to go into the menu a lot in Banjo-Tooie. And this game, I feel like I'm constantly in the menu to check something or see where I need to go next or see what my next mission is.
I guess in that sense, like something like that, the scope of the game is a little bit different. So I don't know if it's like a fair comparison, but I mean, I guess I kind of get what you're saying about that, though.
It's definitely not like a one-to-one comparison, but I don't really. I'm trying to think of other like 3D platformers.
Like
you know,
the closest you would get would be like something like Jack or like a Ratchet and Clank, right? You know, that would be
that. Yeah, sure. And I never played those games, but like, how would that compare to this?
You definitely did some menu stuff in like in the first Jack and Dexter, and for sure in the first Ratchet and Clank as well. Just mostly because you're trying to check like collectibles, and I don't think there was ever like a map.
See, I'm gonna come to Ratchet and Clank's defense here, and I don't know if they invented it, but they came out with I don't know what you'd call. Is it the Omni Wheel or the Octa Wheel, where essentially you hold a button and then you have 8 options to quick select your weapons and stuff. Versus here, where you have to. How many can you have at once? 2?
You can have 3 items, 3 items and 1 ability or whatever. But I mean, like, I'm not to say that this is the same genre, but like, freaking Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City were out like 3 and 4 years before this game. And like, you could just toggle through stuff and there's a mini map, you know? So there's like certain things that they could have aped from other genres to make, and I'm not saying it's an open world game, but like there are certain things that they could have aped from other games in order to make this a little bit even like this game probably seemed old then, even I don't know, because I mean it was in development for like 5 years, 4.5 years. I'm trying to think if I remember anything from Beyond Good and Evil, because I don't even feel like I was in the menus that often in Beyond Good and Evil as I am in this game.
It was more contextual, if I remember.
Yeah.
As far as like, hey, you're with Paige, so you have this special ability with him.
Yeah.
It didn't really have any equipable stuff from what I remember.
Sure, but there was definitely like missions and a map that you had to follow, though.
Oh yeah, I'm not arguing that like there's a lot of things this game could have used.
But I digress. The one thing I will say, and I do appreciate this, I'm not really a fan of backtracking in platformers, which is a very ridiculous thing to say, because that is something that, I mean, once you get like a better ability, then in theory you get that ability in a level, then you can take that ability and use it in previous things to access different spots or whatever.
Don't you really like Banjo-Kazooie, and don't you really like all of Rare games? Donkey Kong 64?
Well, I like Rare games.
Are you Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
What are you trying to say? GoldenEye is not my favorite Nintendo 64 game, and that is not the best console of all time.
I'm just checking.
No, so it's hypocritical because I do like Banjo-Kazooie. I don't like Banjo-Tooie. Donkey Kong 64 is okay. But for the most part, I don't like collectathon games. Banjo-Tooie is probably the worst collectathon game I've ever played. I think Donkey Kong 64 might be like two. It's probably 1B to Banjo-Tooie's 1A.
I can't let you get away with that. Donkey Kong 64 has you literally transition between like 6 characters?
5
to
characters.
get stuff? That's unacceptable, dude. Like, you literally have to go out of the stage, come back with a different character. You have to retread the same ground 5 times to get stuff. At least Banjo-Kazooie, if you have the stuff, you can get the stuff.
How recently did you play Banjo-Tooie?
In the past 6 months.
Okay. In 64? In Donkey Kong 64?
It's been a couple years for that one.
Okay. I'm played Tui more recently, but it's probably been in the past like 4 years. And no, actually, I take that back. Probably in the past 6 years, and 64, DK64, even longer than that. But I just remember being super fed up with Banjo Tooie after a while because I don't know. Like I think that the difference for me is like I don't mind the levels in Donkey Kong 64 as much as I hated the levels in Banjo Tooie. So it was a pain to go back to a level because I had this one ability that I got like 2 levels later, and then like it's just super frustrating because I was like super fed up with some of those levels, and I knew I'd have to go back to those levels in an hour or 2 hours to like go back through them. With at least with Donkey Kong, like I didn't have any issue with the levels, so going back wasn't that big of a deal. But I do think those two games are the most egregious examples. This game, on the other hand, to bring things back on track, you once you get, I think it's even just the Leviathan or Leviathan, levitate, the levitate ability. You can pretty much get anything in the open world section. So I kind of went through and was able to collect damn near everything after 3 hours. So like I'm 100% caught up and have collected all the things I need to get at this point. So I like that you can kind of choose to do that if you want, but it's not like a super huge chore if you do want to do it. It's not a huge ask. So I appreciate that, and I think it's really fun to move around in this world on that ball, on the levitating ball or whatever. I don't know how you guys feel, but it's just super fun to move around in this world. And I love the fast travel in this game. I'm super surprised there is fast travel in this game personally, but I am here for it.
No, yeah, there'd have to. I mean, there had to be because, like, I mean, maybe it's just me. I don't really enjoy the platforming and just navigating around in the game like that. But that could just be me.
It feels really good to me in a like nostalgia way where it's like, man, I'm playing one of these games that I don't play that often anymore, so this is kind of taking me back and it feels really good. It doesn't feel good as far as like 2019 standards, but it just feels really good to be like I'm playing an old game that I would really love, but I'm not like it's new to me. It's
Maybe
foreign to me.
Maybe it's because I played a lot of games of that era, but this didn't seem good for like 99 standards.
They're like, oh, go ahead.
Like
Objection.
I didn't particularly care for the level design, like in the open world area, and I
The
appreciate
platforming doesn't feel good.
yeah, I appreciate the fact that they, made the terrain where it's not like completely flat. It has character, but I think it ruins kind of the visibility of it. Like you can't really see like, wow, this map looks really good, or I like the way this everything comes together. You can't really see a lot because of how the terrain is set up, and oftentimes there are a lot of obstacles like objects in your way that keep you from like fluidly moving. And like I understand what you're saying about the levitating ball, but it doesn't roll uphill very well. That's the only thing.
You can bounce though.
I don't know. I just didn't care for the level design because another thing was it was hard to navigate with it too. Like trying to memorize which direction was where. Like I agree with you. Like I'm really glad they added fast travel because if they didn't, I would have a tough time trying to use the little wayfinding markers to find the next area where I was trying to go.
Yeah, like so the first tutorial, I guess it's one of the first tutorial missions, when you go in Coach Oleander's mine, like that section just doesn't feel good as far as the platforming, the jumping, just nothing about it feels very tight. And I mean, I'm probably being harsh on this, more harsh than it really deserves, but it just.
I think so.
No, none of the platforming. The platforming feels like trash in this game. It feels so bad. It feels
the double jump
terrible. The double
like,
jump is unacceptable. And
Are you
there's no way to
serious?
it. Yes.
It's not that.
I
bad.
love the double jump.
It's not that bad in like the mine worlds that you go into, but like you really notice it in the open world areas because that's the part where you're literally trying to find collectibles and stuff. And so you're having trouble getting up to certain ledges and timing certain jumps and swinging like before you get the levitating ability. And so that's where you really notice it.
Yeah, it just
Like, there's no weight to it.
yeah, and even with the double jump, like a small gripe I have is the angle that the camera's at. Sometimes it's hard to tell if you're even about to clear the ledge you need to get to, or if you're gonna overshoot it. So I've had a few times where like it's kind of hard for me to like get that spatial recognition, I guess.
Okay, that I agree with. I feel like sometimes the camera angle is a little bit wonky, and it's just kind of hard to tell like if you are going to clear a jump. But I don't know about that other stuff, my guys. What do you say?
Better or worse than Ninja Gaiden?
I like the camera better in this game than Ninja Gaiden, but like if the camera thing is a user thing, well, I don't know. Like I I like the camera better in this game for sure. I think the thing that you guys are saying when you're saying it doesn't have any weight or whatever, I think it's like it's not precise. Like you can't quick hop or short hop or like it's not responsive the way you want it to be in a platformer. But
Not really a lot of platforming as of. Oh, I mean, I guess there is, but like
it's not precise. You don't need to be. It's not like I'm trying to think like.
You do jump, but it's not like it's not a Mario or like a Banjo where this is keys to like navigating through everything. It's like yes, you do have to jump and you have to do it, but that's not the only things that you're doing to like get through a stage, right?
But
Definitely.
still, it's like the main thing because like there's not that much combat in this game.
Yeah, like the combat is very sparse, and the combat is. It's whatever. Like, that's another thing where I feel like the combat is just kind of just bleh. I enjoy the moving around and the quote-unquote platforming or the adventuring or whatever you want to call it. It's the combat that I'm not really a fan of. And going back to that training mission, I don't like the what do you call them, the figments or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
How they're just like the collectible things are these flat like crayon drawings that you have to pick up, and I wish they did something to make them stand out a little bit more because they're so flat in the world, which I know is like an aesthetic choice, but it makes it so hard to see some things, or especially the ones that move throughout the level. It just makes it really, really difficult to have them stand out, to even notice them until like either you're right up on them or you like just view the stage from a different angle. And I don't think it's like purposeful. I think like maybe in 2000, I don't even know if maybe in 2005 they stood out, but like it's a bad like thing to see in 2019.
It's weird.
And oh, go ahead.
It's weird because sometimes you'll get to a point where like there's a big clump of them. And for them to be collectibles, it doesn't seem like
they're not rare. It doesn't seem. It's like you'll play a level and there's like if you check the map, and this is like another thing that I like because if you are obsessive and collect things all the time like me, you can pause the game and see how many there are in whatever world or whatever section of the open world you're in or the overworld. So you can pause the game and see like, oh, there's 22 in this part or there's 74 in this part. So like I don't really think it really matters like what level you get to at the end of this game or whatever PSI rank you are, but it does feel like I'm like I don't know, it does feel good to collect all the things still after all these years of having not played this type of game, it still, for me, it feels really good to collect everything.
I really could care less about the collectibles, and not because that's not what I normally, I normally don't go for those things, but I just feel like in this game, there's not a very big incentive other than like your PSI rank for the Figment stuff, but like outside of that, and the arrowheads obviously because that's currency, but you know, like outside of that, is there any reason to get the emotional baggage or like other than just like checking things off,
Don't get me wrong, I 1000% agree with you, but it's just like a personal thing that feels good to me. It's kind of like in Beyond Good and Evil when me and Trevor were checking with each other to see, did you get all the crystals or whatever? There was like really no main reason to do it. It just felt good, and that's how it is for me. I don't know if you feel that way in this game, Trevor.
Sometimes I'm overwhelmed by everything. Because especially with like the PSI cores, it's like you have to collect what are the first things that you get? Like
the 9 cards in order to in a core to level up to the next rank.
Yeah, and so that's kind of off-putting because I'd rather just be like, hey, why don't you just put these cores out in the world and let me find them?
Sure.
And I don't know, it just seems like because at first I thought the arrowheads were collectibles too. Because I was literally going around picking up every single one of them, and then at some point I would end up backtracking and realize, oh, I left one over here. I left one over here.
And you see all of them.
Yeah, and it's like, did they respawn? So that was like I don't know if y'all remember in our group chat when I said this game was messy. Like that was one of the things that I was referring to, simply because it gives me anxiety in games where it's hard to keep track of what all you're looking for.
Sure. My another qualm I have with the game is that you're a psychic or whatever, so like I understand that those things shouldn't be easy, that you can just walk over them or whatever, but like if you could just like quickly pick up things like a little bit better with your mind or have it brought to you, and I know there's an item for it, but it doesn't make any sense to me why he couldn't just pull things to himself from the jump. Why he has to buy this item in order to have a magnet that brings things into him. Especially those where you have to like walk over their location and then hit the whatever button to take it out of the ground and collect it. It's just like, I don't know, maybe it would have been, I don't know, like after
arrowheads.
Yeah, well, like the big arrowheads, like you have to have that special item out.
Yeah.
And like that's a pain to do that. And there's like a key gameplay thing where you have to get the cobweb duster or whatever, so you need to use this item that finds like these huge deposits of the currency in the game. And then it's basically you run around with this thing, and there's like it's almost like a metal detector where there's like a beeping sound, and the more rapid it gets, the more closer you are to the source of whatever this thing is, and then you just start rapidly hitting whatever button to like draw it out of the ground, and it just gave me vibe. Like it reminded me of Pokemon Stadium, the Pikachu Voltorb one, and I was just like, man, like. I can't believe there's still like one of the like the mashing button mini game in this game, and I'm like, this game, how old is like it? Just like, how old is this? Why do they do this?
One thing I do appreciate about some of the collectibles is the naming, like the figments, basically figments of your imagination, and then the emotional baggage.
I love how you had to explain that.
Why you hate, man?
I care about some people out there.
Never mind.
I feel like you have no good things about this game that you like, Dante. Is that fair assessment?
Yes.
Dang. So what do you?
Just letting you guys roll with it.
What do you think about? Okay, so we talked about the in the world stuff, the combats, like. You guys, I mean, the combat's whatever, right? Actually, I think the combat kind of sucks. It does suck.
Yeah, it's not great.
That was the deal breaker for me.
The deal breaker?
Yeah,
Like if the combat was like better,
Like
or
that was the point in the game where I almost stopped playing. I think it was the first
jeez,
boss.
what's the first boss?
The that giant bulbous guy that's chasing.
Oh, the censor, the censor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of sucked. That kind of sucked.
Especially as a first
But
boss too.
I think like okay, I don't like the first two bosses. I think they're two of my least favorite parts of the game. However, I really, really, really appreciate how varied these bosses are, and like I think they're creative. So it's like I'm giving them props for like having these super out of the box like variations in fights. Like especially the fish boss. The fish boss is my favorite part in this game, and it's really weird because I cannot stand the fact that they had a fixed camera angle and you're platforming, and I don't necessarily care for it, but I really like that entire sequence though overall. It was like my favorite sequence in the entire game.
Yeah, I kind of felt like the boss battles in this game are probably one of the more well done aspects of it.
Really?
I think so.
I did not like that tank boss at all.
I didn't mind it.
I didn't like. Go ahead.
No, I mean, like I could see how it might be a little annoying, but it didn't feel okay. So that might be like the low point of one like the boss fights in the game. But like, I feel like the fish boss and then the one right after that are really good.
The superhero.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really like that one too. And like the thing I like about it is like you have these abilities and they do a good job of having a unique fight that forces you to use the newest ability or the most recent two abilities that you gained in order to fight the boss. And like I really do like that. Uh, it's I don't necessarily, like I said, I don't really care for the first two bosses, the giant censor and the tank boss. Mostly with the tank boss, I don't like it. Gave me Ninja Gaiden vibes where the camera is just locked on the tank and you couldn't turn it to free roam to kind of reposition yourself. You always, the camera was always locked behind you with the tank in the foreground, or excuse me, the background. And I wish I could like, once I got hit or confused or whatever, I wish I could just focus on running away and hiding behind something. And I don't know, I didn't really like that part. But the fish boss was, I love the fish boss. Do you remember any of these bosses, Dante?
I do.
Did any of them stand out, good or bad?
I remember having to use a guide at one point on the fish boss.
Really?
Yeah, you get to the end of that fight, and
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I don't remember what exactly the game expected me to do, but I
had to use a guide on that part too, and it was
There's a funky, so like that fish, the reason I like the
there
fish
were
boss,
clams, weren't there, or
Yeah.
something?
yeah, they're
Okay.
clams. So like the first part of the fish boss, you're fighting this giant lungfish, and he blows up this big air bubble that you're in because you're fighting him in the bottom of this lake, and you're in this air bubble, and when he's on the outside of this air bubble, sucking in the air, making the bubble smaller so he can suck you in, and you're supposed to hit these items that explode that he sucks in and their nails, and it hurts him, right? And then after a while, he's like, well, F you, I'm going to move this bubble. So he starts pushing the bubble, and then from then on, it becomes you're in this bubble, and you're platforming. He's pushing the bubble through the base of this lake. And there's, all these obstacles and stuff you have to avoid, and enemies and things like that. And so you're running from him, then he stops, then you fight that sequence again, then it happens again. Then in the third sequence, he hops in the bubble, and he has the like the little lantern tentacle on the end of his forehead or whatever, and he starts whipping it at you, and there's these clams on the ground, and if he whips it and it gets caught by the clam, then you can run up on him and swing and do some damage on him. But there's something.
Isn't it really hard to actually do that?
It's really hard to, yeah, it's really hard to get him to get his tentacles stuck. And then on top of that too, there's this weird, like, I don't know if it was what was going on, but the game, the light would come on, then it would go off, then it would come on, then it would go off. And I wasn't sure if, like, the clam would only clamp on him if the light is on or not, and I didn't know what the game was trying to tell me. So I kind of felt like I kind of stumbled my way into beating him at the end, because I wasn't sure, like, I exactly knew what that meant, but I somehow was still able to beat him. But I don't know, I just really, really enjoyed that fight overall. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up that I think is really cool is the way the perspective switches in this game. So, like, I didn't necessarily like the sensor boss, but how you're fighting on a giant cube, and, like, the perspective is changing as you're running from one side of the cube to another, and then the whole level is moving with you. There's another sequence where you are running through this, I think they call it like a log or something, and it's just like barbed wire, and it's very specific platform or route that you have to take, and the whole level is rotating, and you have to run across it, and, like, you have to time how you're doing things. And I don't know, there's something about how they have all these really weird perspective, like, spear things and curve things that you're running over, and, like, it's super cool to me and very visually pleasing. And I don't, did you notice any of that, or did any of that do anything for you guys?
What I will say about the bosses is I think the concepts for all of them were cool, but the actual mechanics that back the backbone of this game are so bad, in my opinion. Like, I just could not get into any aspect of this game.
Sure. Did you guys like any of the, like, this perspective stuff I was talking about, or?
I thought it was interesting. Like, the part where you're in, like, a big air bubble in the water and you're trying to, platform.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was really interesting gameplay. Now, the platforming in it, I did die a couple times.
Died or just got knocked out of the bubble?
I think I got knocked out of the bubble. Like, there was one where you have to, you have the option to like jump over like a gap, and I think I wasn't expecting the gap, so I ran right in it, and so the bubble caught up with me. I don't know. The camera angles could have been a lot better. But the boss level is really what ruined that gameplay for me. Like,
gotcha.
Because, like Dante, I had to look up a guide, and it was specifically for those clams, because he did get his tentacle caught, or his eyeball, whatever it was, caught in one of those clams. And after that, I couldn't figure out how to do it again. And, like, I was literally standing right behind the clam, and he would still end up hitting me, and I couldn't figure out how to get him stuck. And eventually I just looked up a guide, and
I feel a little bad because I often complain about, like, games being too hand-holdy about how to do stuff, or, oh, there's a very clear, like, red glowing spot on the boss or whatever. But this game, this wasn't the right way either. I don't think they communicated what they were trying to in any effective manner.
Gotcha. What about you, Greg? Because you like this fight, right?
Yeah, I mean, so I didn't really have any big issues with it. The only thing, I guess the perspective didn't really mess me up, but I guess the only thing that I kind of agree with you guys on was the second phase of that, where you had to get his, that's not tentacle, I guess, but whatever you want to call it. Had to get the clams to bite that. That wasn't very intuitive. and that's like the only thing. But so I died there one time before I just kind of accidentally stumbled upon. That's how you're supposed to damage him. But outside of that, I mean, I like the fight. So.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Trying to think if there's anything else. What do you guys think about how is there any levels that stick out, good or bad, for you guys that we've played so far?
What levels have we played so far?
So off the top, we played the Coach Oleander's like training level. We did the Sasha Nine's shooting gallery thing. We did. We're in Raz's. We keep going in and out of Raz's mind. We did the teach. What's the other Psychonaut? The woman Psychonaut?
I forget her name now, but I really like
the party one. The one where you learn levitate.
Yeah.
I really like that one as well. That one also had really good music. And then we also did the Lungfish boss. And then I don't know if Trevor went beyond the Lungfish, but it sounds like me and Greg did, where we played the one where you are the big creature in the world, in the Lungfish mine.
Yep.
Did you do that one,
I like
Trevor?
that stage as well.
No, I just watched the cutscene after the Lungfish.
Okay, yeah, I really like that stage as well. It had a lot of Rampage vibes for me. And I think the Coach Oleander's level I didn't really care for, but I liked all the other levels. Especially the female Psychonauts level and the Lungfish the Lungfish level.
Yeah, I think Coach Oleander's probably like, and I guess maybe it's maybe not supposed to be the most engaging, thing, because it's kind of like a tutorialization, but like that's definitely probably one of the weakest, areas that we've been in so far.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't really like Sasha Nine's. His is the one where you're like fighting on the cube, and like the different obstacle courses hop up. But I thought that was a much better, like, not that, like, it's really weird to say this, but it's like it was a good combination of combat and platforming, though depending on how you feel about those two things would greatly change how you feel about the level. Where for me, I'm like, combat's whatever, but I do like the platforming, so I don't have a problem with those levels. But I know, like, for Dante and probably for Trevor, if they're not really here for combat and definitely not here for the platforming, then they probably don't have as good of a impression on that level as I do.
I'm here for the platforming. It is just not. It's not as fine tuned as I hoped it would be.
Then you're not here for it.
No, like I'm here for it, which is why I'm still playing the game. Like if the game just had flat out terrible platforming, I probably wouldn't be playing it because I hate.
Well, wait until next week's episode.
I hate playing games where it feels
boy.
like I'm literally like moving around with sandbags or something on my feet, like where it just feels like I don't have any mobility at all. Like this game hasn't gotten to that point yet, so I'm still playing it.
Gotcha. And I'm guessing you don't like no level stands out for you, Dante?
The disco area was kind of
alright. Yeah, the one where you learn levitate.
Yeah, I think
that
so. The one where you get the ball, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Did you not like the Lungfish level?
I just remember the Lungfish boss. I don't remember too much.
What, the Lungfish level where you're giant and you're in the city?
Is that the one where
the tanks are shooting at you and the battleships?
That's the tank. No.
Really?
That didn't feel good at all.
The one thing I will say I didn't like about it is you couldn't use levitate, so you couldn't get around quickly. Did you like that, Greg?
Oh, what was that? I'm sorry.
Not being able to use the levitate to get around quickly on that level.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of sucked.
A bit of a pain.
So are we just going to leave, like, characters and dialogue and all that stuff for next week?
No, we can talk about it, too.
I was just curious, because I felt like that was, like, if you talk to anybody about Psychonauts, they're going to mention, like, the writing and all of that jazz. So
Okay, let's talk about it. How do you guys feel about the writing? I'll start with
oh,
you. I'll start with you, Dante.
so not to be too proud of my own comparison, but I really do feel like this is like Captain Underpants the game, where it's a lot of that like, oh well, we're in this situation and booger, 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 snot type of writing. That's the best I can do for. Like, I just don't like how it's written at all. It's very like not kindergarten, but like elementary school type of humor, and I don't think it's a good version of that at all.
Do you feel like they turned it on too much? Like they were like, this is the age group, so these kids need to be this mature, and they just went overboard?
No, I think they did it intentionally because there's a lot of people that really like this game, and I think it just doesn't connect with me in a certain way, like some books don't from that era and of that ilk.
What do you guys think?
I mean, I like it so far. I can kind of get the criticism behind it, but I haven't found it to be that egregious yet. But I do think that, I mean, it's not like, you know, like super funny, but I do find it kind of charming, I guess.
Okay. Okay. What about you, Trevor?
I don't know if it was intentional. It seems like it, but it seems like they managed to find every single stereotype of an annoying kid and put them in this game.
Yeah, I can see that.
And
Good way? Bad way? Both?
it's kind of annoying. Like,
But, like,
I don't see it the same way as Dante, but it's
it's not as much of a deterrent or, like, I don't know, down.
yeah, like every now and then I'll find myself skipping over the dialogue because it's just kind of like once you get a feel for the person's demeanor, you know exactly what they're gonna say.
Sure.
And
Sure.
so it's
Is that something you would do in normal games, I guess you could say? Or, like, other games?
skip over the dialogue.
Yeah. Be honest.
Like
Because I think that's very telling. Like, you're trying to be nice, but if you're saying, like, I skip over the dialogue, then that means to me that, like, you're not here for, which is fine, but
if
I
the
just,
character fits like a very specific trope or a stereotypical, then I probably will skip over it. Like especially if they're giving you,
Which character doesn't?
I'm going to say, which characters do you skip over then?
like all the kids. Like unless they're giving me like quest details or something.
The girl? Lilia or Lily?
One that ask you for a arrowhead.
No, the one that looks kind of like the same race or whatever as
The
Raz.
girlfriend
The
character.
one where she asks you for a kiss or something.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I didn't skip over that. That was how I heard about the kiss. I'm just like, wait a minute, why is everybody kissing in this game?
Gotcha.
But
The bully
I
with the fro.
I skipped over a little bit of his dialogue. Simply because, like, especially that part where he's blocking your path on the docks. And it's just kind of, I know how this is going to go. This is a video game.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
in your way. He's not going to let you pass. But yeah, if it's...
Scaredy cat egg kid.
The blue kid with the tinfoil hat with the no
I
neck.
listened to his dialogue because I knew he was an integral part of, like, the brain tumbler experiment.
Sure.
So that was the only reason why I figured it was some kind of clue as to what was going
Gotcha.
on. Because at that part, I'm still trying to figure out, you know, what exactly is the overarching goal of this game. Like, I know
The actual plot.
Yeah, I know he wants to be a psychonaut, so he's doing all this training and everything. But and eventually it does tell you. But yeah, at that point, I was just trying to figure out what the plot of the game was.
Any of the adults?
Yeah, I listened to all of theirs.
Okay. All right. Well, I know for me, I kind of feel like I'm kind of split in the middle as well. I don't think the game is I do think it is a little bit charming. I don't skip over dialogue or anything like that. I do agree with Dante. There is some very, I think Captain Underpants is probably like a really good comparison as far as like the writing style for some of the characters or some of the content that the characters are talking about, I guess you could say. But I don't dislike the game because of that. I think I agree with Trevor too about how some of the characters fit into these tropes or like the most annoying kids. Those two twins, the punch kids, were so annoying. But I think so. Like the thing that I really like about the game, or I think is maybe Dante didn't. It didn't matter to Dante that this happened, but so like you're in somebody's brain and these kids that are like punch, 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 and they just keep repeating it, keep repeating it, keep repeating it, and they're cheering you on, but they're so annoying. And after you complete it, I guess the mind says like, or the person that's running this obstacle course says, "What? So here's your reward," and then those two kids disappear. And like it's super subtle to me. I think like it's super subtle, but I think it's kind of like a nod. Like we know this was really annoying, and we did this because we had this little gag, and maybe the gag isn't like super like funny or anything like that, but I do think it was slick, and I do appreciate it for that. But every time those kids pop up, I'm like rolling my eyes. But the game always does something to kind of address how annoying those two kids are in particular, and I really like that. The no net kid, the egg shaped kid Dante was talking about. I can't stand him, but like Trevor said, he is an integral part of the game. So I want to skip his dialogue, but I don't. But he's like the super nerdy like kid that's always getting picked on, but you know you're nice to him, so he's kind of your friend, like the Neville Longbottom, or like the I guess like the Chucky, the spastic kind of nerdy kid that you're friends with. So that's the kind of the trope that he fits in. But he's pretty annoying. But I think some of the dialogue in this game is a little too, like they took it a little too far in these are kids and this is what they talk about, but at the same time like this is I don't know, like this is their first game technically, you know, with Double Fine, so it's just kind of like you missed the mark here, but I see what you were going for. It's not my cup of tea, but I don't think it's awful. The voice acting I think is pretty good. I think even like the kids, they are annoying when they need to be annoying. The adults like sound how like they sound unique and cool. I think everybody does their part as far as representing the character that they need to represent and how they deliver the dialogue in the game. So I think for the most part, they did exactly what they set out to do. It's just in some cases, just the kids just can get really annoying. But hey, like that's kids. Sometimes they can get really, really freaking annoying.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's just kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually have in my notes too. Sometimes the writing is witty, but usually it is corny AF. And I think that is very, like, accurate. It's like, you know, a lot of times I'm just rolling my eyes or just, you know, like, oh my god, this is crazy. This is grating. But then there's a couple times where I'm like, I'm not necessarily chuckling to myself, but I'm like, I see what you guys did there, or like, oh, that was clever or whatever. And having played some of their other games, like, I do feel like that is something that is a muscle that you have to exercise and you have to train. And I do feel like later games, they do that much, that skill is developed and it's more established in their other games. So like I see what they're going for here, and like I said, a lot of times it misses the mark, but I know what like some of the future stuff is, so it's kind of like, well, you gotta crawl before you walk, so I'm not upset about it.
And I will go out of my way and say that, like, I have a very low tolerance for that stuff.
Yes.
So,
yep. I will agree with him. He does. Anything else that you feel like we need to touch on?
Kind of feel like that's pretty much it for the first part of this, unless anybody's got like big gripes or anything else.
Did we go over all of the abilities you get? Just
No, you get a fireball, you get the levitate, you get telekinesis, which you can pull things closer to you. Levitate also allows you to move, you create a ball and you're rolling on the ball so you can move quicker. But then also when you're falling, you can have the ball in your hand and you float and you can kind of slowly fall. What else they have? They have pyrotechnics, which is basically you can put something or ignite something in flames. And I feel like there's one. Oh, is there one other thing? Shield, which Trevor you don't have yet, but you're about to get it, which is basically you create a shield around you so it blocks projectile attacks and sometimes it reflects things as well. So I feel like is that it, Greg? Am I missing anything?
Speaking of which, I like the idea that they give you merit badges in order to utilize these abilities.
Oh yeah.
One weird thing that I ran into was I guess I didn't go into the that underground lab soon enough. Because I went there maybe after I had gotten the levitation ability. And so the guy just kept giving me merit badges and was just like, here's your ability, here's your ability, here's your ability.
You know, I think that happened to me too.
So I guess you're supposed
Where I
to
just
visit
kinda
them periodically.
change the sequencing of things.
Yeah, I do feel like a lot of the upgrades you eventually get don't really do too much. They're not really that game changing. But I definitely think in the beginning, it's more useful to have them than not.
Yeah, I wish I would have gotten some practice in with them on bosses, but I've only ended up using 2 different abilities so far.
Yeah, they're kind of inconsequential in some ways, where you can fandangle your way around without using everything.
It's pretty grim.
I see what you did there. Bars.
I hate that I see what you guys thought I did, but anyway.
All right. Well, do you got anything else, Trevor?
No, I think
Dante?
that's it for me.
Do you want a question?
Sure.
If you had a psychic ability, what would it be?
I think the obvious answer would be telekinesis, right?
What telekinesis? That's reading other people's. What is that? Reading people's minds?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought
You'd be Dr. X or not Dr. X, Professor X.
Wait, I thought telekinesis was moving objects with your mind, and
my bad. Then.
Was,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it mixed up. All right.
So you say telekinesis, moving things with your mind?
Yeah, now that I think about it. Well, actually, no, that might be more useful, actually.
You could just open your refrigerator from remote and just make a sandwich, and then have the sandwich come to you.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you... Is that cheating? Shouldn't you only be able to do stuff that you can visually see?
You might be right.
Could you telekinese your body?
What if you just had a webcam set up next to your fridge?
There you go.
Wow. Hey, webcams all over your house. What you got going on?
Hey, man.
So I got 5 Google Home minis, so at this point, I'm, we're too far from something like that anyway.
All right. What about you, Trevor?
I would be able to put my mind in computers, to be able to traverse the digital landscape with my mind.
Oh, he's trying to get to Pornhub.
I see you. Okay.
Part of the internet.
I think
it's hard to miss.
I think I would do mind control. I think that's what I would do. That's a psychic power, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty deep.
Give me all your money. I insist.
Man, now I gotta do something different than all of you. How about... I was about to say levitation, but that's kind of lame.
Levitate, 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 levitate.
What if I was able to put psychic energy around my body and use it for levitate and other stuff, like being able to pick up stuff and
Sure.
yeah, there we go.
I'm trying to think. Isn't that I'm trying to think. Was there a superhero that could do something like that? I feel like there is.
Like, what's her name? Elastic Girl could create force fields.
Like, I was thinking Bubble Boy at first, but
That's something completely different.
yeah, it's like if I could just have a barrier around me at all times.
Is that kind of similar to Invisible Woman?
Yeah. Wait, that's who I meant. She was the inspiration.
Create force fields and yeah.
I just watched
that'd be cool.
Recently, so
Incredibles 2 on Netflix. You heard it here first. Greg, do we have any questions?
No questions this week, but as always, you guys can hit us up at misscheckpoints@gmail.com or on Twitter at mcheckpoints.
All right. Where can people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at BoomboxHero. Facebook is the same, Boombox Hero, and on Twitch at twitch.tv/xdrdmagnegrox.
All right. And where can people find you at, Dante?
People can. I haven't been streaming that much often. But they might be able to find me at twitch.tv/wakencloud. And
Okay.
maybe I'll have something to stream in the near future.
All right. And where can people find you at,
you
Trevor?
can find me on Twitch or Mixer. Probably Twitch because I've been playing Kingdom Hearts 3, trying to finish that up. But yeah.
What Disney World are you at? That's
I
not a
just
spoiler.
recently finished the Rapunzel world, Corona.
Okay, so you're still pretty early.
Yeah.
And you can find me on Instagram at Marq_Dizzle and on Facebook at Potato Salad. And look at all my trip pictures of when I was in Mexico.
Let that boy cook.
Let that boy cook. Yeah.
Chef hat.
Yeah. We chef. And we have our next batch of games. We finally got knocked those out. So for the month of March, we are playing Grim Fandango. Yep. That's so that's gonna be. It's not technically Double Fine, but it's Double Fine adjacent. It's a LucasArts game, and Grim Fandango kind of got back into the public mind because they re-released it and remastered version. Double Fine did. They reacquired the rights because, like I said, a lot of former employees of LucasArts work for Double Fine now. So they included Tim Schafer. So that's going to be for the month of March. That's my game. Month of April is going to be Greg's month, and we are playing. Do you remember the two games, Greg? I have them written down, but you have to say the order because I don't know which one you want to play first.
I guess the order doesn't matter. It was Celeste and Hellblade, right?
Yeah, Sinuous Sacrifice, right? Hellblade, Sinuous Sacrifice. Is that the?
Yeah.
Okay. So two. I think Hellblade came out 2 years ago, right? 2017.
I feel like it. Yeah, I feel
That
like it
sounds
was
about right.
And Celeste was late, or I guess late summer last year, right?
Early January or February last
Oh,
year,
really?
I'd say. Yeah.
Oh, dang. I guess because everybody was talking about the end of the year, I just assumed it came at the end of last year. Okay. And then Trevor's game for May is
Killer 7.
Killer 7, that Capcom game. And for the month of June, we got Dante.
Wah, wah.
All right. Well, go ahead, Dante.
So I am peacing out for now, and it was a pleasure working with you guys. And who knows what the future may bring, but I wish you guys the best of luck. I will be here next week, so it's not a formal goodbye. This is just a goodbye for now type of thing.
In case you're wondering, like, hey, they only revealed 3 months of games and there's 4 of them. Well, this is the reason why. I think Dante, he has some things, that he wants to do on his own, so we'll let him do that. We'll try to, every now and then we'll bug him about coming back. We'll see if we can, break him down. But that dude, he has, it takes a while to, break Dante down, so who knows? It'll probably be, 3-4 years down the line.
Just begging you guys, like, I've lost everything. I just need this checkpoints.
Exactly.
My family left me. My girl left me. But I still got you guys, right?
Exactly. Now you get it.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't have family or a girl, so.
Well, we'll try to see. I think he said he'll still be around to do editing and potentially, but also maybe some bonus podcasts. Maybe we can try to see if we can get Dante to contribute that way. So he's not going to be. Hopefully, this is me saying this. Hopefully, he's not going to be entirely gone and disconnected. But we'll see. It's up to him. No.
It'll be fun because this will. We've been having some discussions about the format of the podcast in general, and it might be better with a 3-person thing. We'll see. And it gives them some leeway to try some stuff out, so I'm excited for the future.
Okay, alright. Well, hopefully we'll get him back, though. You know what I'm saying? Do you guys got any final thoughts?
I had to laugh at final thought. That.
Wow.
No. I know that acronym.
Oh. All right. Well, with that,
famous last words.
You guys have a good one. We're Miss Checkpoints, and we're out. Peace.